Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something kind of different, the idea of hidden beauty and potential.
Sounds intriguing.
Well, we've got this fascinating blog post from China called The Beauty of Butterflies. The Bible is the salon of life. And it really got me thinking.
The Bible is the salon of life. That's an interesting title. What's the post about?
Well, it's all about how we often overlook our own strengths and unique qualities.
Kind of like how a butterfly can't see its own wings.
Yeah, exactly. The author was actually going through a pretty tough career change, burning the midnight oil, feeling lost, when their daughter just casually makes this observation about butterflies.
Wow, that's a pretty insightful observation for a kid.
Right. And it totally hit the author, like a bolt out of the blue. They realized they were so focused on what they lacked that they weren't even seeing the amazing things they already possessed.
I think we've all been there at some point. We get so caught up in comparing ourselves to others that we forget to appreciate our own unique gifts.
Totally. And it's like we're all walking around with these incredible wings, but we're too busy looking at everyone else's to even notice our own.
The blog post actually uses some really cool examples from nature to illustrate this idea.
Oh yeah, like the peacock. With those brilliant tail feathers. It's
Yeah.
hard to miss that kind of beauty.
Exactly. But the peacock isn't trying to show off or anything. It's just naturally expressing its beauty.
So it's not about seeking validation.
No, it's about recognizing the inherent worth and beauty that's already there.
It makes me think of that verse from Genesis, where God looks at everything he's made and says, it is very good. The author mentions it in the post too.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we are inherently valuable, just as we are, not because of what we achieve or how we measure up to others.
I like that. Simple, yet profound.
The blog post goes on to talk about other creatures, like the rainbow fish with its shimmering scales, or the Bengal tiger with its powerful stripes.
Okay, I see where they're going with this. Each creature has its own unique beauty, and it's not about trying to be something it's not.
Exactly. And it's funny because reading this post made me realize how much I struggle with this myself.
Yeah.
Feeling like I'm constantly striving, always trying to prove myself.
Yeah, like you're never quite good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And it made me wonder, am I missing out on appreciating my own butterfly beauty because I'm so focused on external achievements? I mean, it's like the author said, it's easy to get lost in a world that prioritizes outward success and material possessions.
That really resonates with me too. We live in a culture that's obsessed with achievement and status. It's easy to get caught up in that race and forget to cultivate the qualities that make us truly unique.
We end up chasing after something that might not even be fulfilling in the end.
Right. We're so busy trying to be what we think we should be that we forget to just be ourselves.
And that's where I think this whole butterfly beauty analogy is so powerful.
How so?
Well, it challenges us to shift our focus inward, to stop looking for validation from outside sources and start recognizing the potential that already exists within us.
So it's about embracing those qualities that make us uniquely us, even if they don't fit the mold of what society deems successful or desirable.
Exactly. It's about understanding that we are already enough just as we are. And that's a message I think we could all benefit from hearing in today's world.
So how do we apply this? How do we actually embrace our butterfly beauty in our everyday lives? It's one thing to talk about it conceptually, but how do we actually put it into practice?
Well, I think a good starting point is to simply become more aware of the things that come naturally to us. The things we do effortlessly and enjoy.
You mean like those times when we're so engrossed in something that we completely lose track of time?
Exactly. Those are the moments when we're truly expressing ourselves authentically without any self-consciousness or need for external approval.
So by paying attention to those moments, we can start to uncover those unique gifts and talents that make us who we are.
Precisely. And that's where the real magic happens. Because when we're operating from a place of authenticity, we naturally attract the right people, opportunities, and experiences into our lives.
That's a powerful thought. It's like we're being encouraged to rediscover the joy of simply being ourselves, without all the pressure and expectations we often place on ourselves.
And when we embrace our butterfly beauty, we free ourselves from the need for constant validation and open ourselves up to a world of possibilities.
I'm really intrigued by this whole idea. This blog post is really making me think.
There's definitely a lot to unpack here, for sure.
So what happened with the author? They had this big realization about butterfly beauty, but did they actually do anything about it?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. They decided to shut down their computer.
Wait, they shut down their computer like in the middle of all this career change, stress, and late night studying? Why?
It was a bold move for sure, but I think it speaks to the power of their daughter's observation. They realized they were so caught up in the external pursuit of success that they had lost sight of their own inherent worth.
So shutting down the computer was like a symbolic act of stepping away from that external pressure and turning inward.
Exactly. It was a way of saying, I'm choosing to embrace my butterfly beauty instead of chasing after something that might not even be fulfilling.
It's like that saying, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
We get so focused on what we think we're missing that we fail to appreciate the beauty and potential right in front of us.
And that's a trap that's so easy to fall into, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should be, how we should look, what we should achieve.
It's like we're being conditioned to seek validation from external sources instead of recognizing the inherent worth within ourselves.
Which brings us right back to the butterfly beauty analogy.
Right? It challenges us to shift our focus inward and recognize the potential that's already there, waiting to be unleashed. But how do we do that? I mean,
Right.
how do we actually uncover this butterfly beauty within ourselves? It's one thing to recognize it conceptually, but how do we tap into it in a practical way?
Well, I think a good place to start is to think about those moments when you feel most alive, most engaged, most effortlessly yourself. What are you doing in those moments? What strengths are you using?
So instead of focusing on what I think I should be doing, I should pay attention to those activities and experiences that bring me genuine joy and satisfaction.
Exactly. Those are clues to your unique butterfly beauty, the qualities that make you shine without even trying. It could be a talent, a passion, a way of interacting with others, anything that feels authentically you.
So basically, stop comparing myself to others and start paying more attention to those moments when I feel most authentically myself.
Precisely, because it's in those moments that your butterfly beauty is most evident,
Uh-huh.
and it's those qualities that you can then use to make a positive impact in the world.
That's a really powerful reminder. It's not about trying to become someone else. It's about recognizing and nurturing the unique qualities that already exist within us.
And it's about trusting that those qualities, however seemingly small or insignificant, have the potential to make a real difference.
Well, what about fear? I mean, what if we uncover our butterfly beauty, but then we're too afraid to share it with the world because we're worried about what others will think?
That's a totally valid concern, and it's definitely something we can dig into a bit more later on. But for now, just remember that the author of this blog post, they found the courage to shut down their computer and embrace their daughter's wisdom. They chose to prioritize their inner beauty over external validation.
So it's a conscious choice we have to make to focus on nurturing our butterfly beauty, even when it feels scary or uncertain.
Exactly. It's about stepping outside of our comfort zones and trusting that our authentic selves are worthy of love and acceptance.
And it's about recognizing that the world needs our unique gifts, even if they don't fit the conventional mold of what's considered successful or impressive.
Couldn't agree more. Every single one of us has something special to offer, and it's by embracing our butterfly beauty that we can truly make a difference.
This is really inspiring. It feels like a call to action, to embrace our individuality and let our unique light shine.
That's the spirit.
I'm curious, though, what did the author do after they shut down their computer? Did they actually find their butterfly beauty? And if so, what did it look like?
Well, that's where the analogy gets even more interesting. So the author describes this like wave of peace washing over them, once they stepped away from that whole pressure of external achievement.
So they weren't focused on their career goals anymore or their academic achievements.
It seems like it. They realized their real beauty, their true beauty, wasn't tied to any of that.
So they started appreciating those things, like that made them uniquely them.
Yeah, exactly. Like their kindness, their creativity, their way of connecting with people on a deeper level.
So they kind of shifted their focus from doing to just being.
That's a great way to put it. They realized their butterfly beauty wasn't something they had to earn. It was already a part of who they were.
That's a pretty liberating thought, right? You don't have to constantly prove yourself. You can just be.
Absolutely. It opens up so many possibilities because when we're not so worried about what other people think, we can truly explore our passions, pursue our interests, and connect with others in a more genuine way.
It's like we're given permission to just spread our wings and fly,
Yeah.
without worrying about whether we're doing it right or meeting someone else's expectations.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of the butterfly beauty analogy. It reminds us that true worth comes from within, not from anything external.
I love that. But, I think it's also important to acknowledge that it's not always easy to embrace our butterfly beauty. I mean, there's fear, self-doubt, the pressure to conform to societal norms, all of that.
Oh, absolutely. It takes real courage to step outside our comfort zones and embrace what makes us unique, especially when we're bombarded with messages telling us we need to be something different.
So how do we overcome that? How do
Yeah.
we deal with those obstacles? What does the blog author say about that?
Well, they suggest something pretty simple, actually. They say to start by acknowledging the qualities you appreciate in other people.
Wait, so instead of focusing on what we think are our flaws,
Mhm.
we should start by recognizing the beauty we see in others.
Yeah, try it. Think about what you admire in your friends, your family, people you look up to, because often those qualities are reflections of your own hidden strengths.
Oh, wow. So maybe I admire someone's creativity,
Hmm.
their resilience, their compassion. Those could be clues to my own butterfly beauty.
Exactly. By focusing on the positive, on the beautiful things we see in others, we open ourselves up to seeing those same qualities within ourselves.
That's a really cool perspective shift. I like that. So once we start recognizing our own butterfly beauty, how do we nurture it? And how do we share it with the world?
Well, I think it's about finding those little ways to let it shine through in our everyday lives.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, it could be as simple as expressing yourself more authentically when you're interacting with people.
Mm.
Maybe you start sharing your creative work, or you volunteer your time for a cause you believe in. Or maybe you just make an effort to be more present and engaged in your relationships.
So it's not about some big grand gesture. It's about those small everyday actions that align with our true selves.
Exactly. It's about letting our unique light illuminate the world around us.
This conversation is really inspiring. I feel like I'm getting a whole new understanding of beauty and potential.
I'm glad to hear that. I think we often overcomplicate things. It's really about remembering that we're all works in progress.
Right. We don't have to be perfect to share our gifts. It's a journey.
It is. It's about self-discovery and self-acceptance. We need to be patient with ourselves, celebrate our progress, and trust that our butterfly duty will continue to unfold in its own time.
Okay, I love that. But I'm curious, in the blog post, the author shut down their computer and began to see their own butterfly beauty. Did it just end there, or did they take it a step further?
That's actually where things get really interesting because they realized recognizing their butterfly beauty wasn't enough. They felt this urge, this deep desire to share it with the world. It wasn't just about sharing, though. It was more about like making a difference.
So using those unique qualities to actually do some good in the world.
Yeah, like contributing something meaningful. You know, the title of the blog post is The Beauty of Butterflies. The Bible is the salon of life, right?
Right.
Well, that connection to faith, it kind of hints at a purpose that goes beyond just personal happiness, like using our butterfly beauty for something bigger than ourselves.
For something like maybe to create something beautiful for God and for the world.
Exactly. It's not about just feeling good. It's about doing good, too.
Makes sense, but man, that can be kind of scary, right? To just put yourself out there, share your gifts, especially when we're so used to downplaying our strengths.
It's definitely a challenge. The author of the blog post even talks about struggling with self-doubt and fear, too. But they realized they had to, like, shift their focus.
From what to what?
Instead of thinking about what they were missing, they started thinking about what they had to offer.
That's powerful. So it's about changing how we see things.
Mhm.
Instead of asking, am I good enough?
Hmm.
We can ask, how can I use what I have to make a difference?
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this, like, huge, dramatic thing. It can be small things, like simple acts of kindness.
Like what kind of things?
Sharing your creative side with a friend, volunteering your time, just showing up as your true self when you're with people.
It's funny, the author's whole journey kind of reminds me of a butterfly's transformation. First you have that time of going inward, like being in a cocoon.
Where you confront your fears and embrace who you truly are.
Yeah, and then you're ready to come out totally changed, ready to show the world what you've become.
I love that. It's such a good analogy. And it reminds us that real change takes time. It's a process.
So don't expect it to happen overnight. What's one simple step our listeners could take today to tap into their own butterfly beauty?
Well, how about this? Pick one thing you really love doing and actually set aside time for it this week. It could be anything. Something creative, spending time outdoors, whatever brings you joy.
It's all about finding what lights you up, and maybe even sharing that with someone.
Exactly. When we share our butterfly beauty, it's like a gift to ourselves and to everyone around us.
I think this deep dive has been so insightful. It's really made me think about beauty and potential in a new way.
Me too. Hopefully our listeners feel inspired to start exploring their own butterfly beauty and to share their unique gifts with the world. It's a journey worth taking.
That's a great way to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Remember, you are already beautiful, just as you are.
Spread your wings and shine.